We are in certain times in life, and there are a lot of what we call problems, challenges, and people are seeking solutions. It is normal that we seek solutions because everything in life is in polarity. So if there are problems, there must be solutions. There is the instinct within us, impelling us to bring balance. If you are lacking energy, something impels you to find food, because food will give you energy. Whatever goes in one direction will be impelled. There are promptings from within to balance it. So seeking is normal. Seeking solutions is therefore normal. If there were no problems, seeking solutions wouldn't be necessary. Now, the problems are so many that whenever one finds some solution, the solution itself brings another problem, because the polarity is moving in cycles. So if you balance night with day, it won't end there. Night will come again. Then you are seeking day again, and day comes, and then night comes again. So what do we do? Because even if you get a solution, more problems keep coming. So there is one word that most people would have liked to really get to the root of it. And that word is panacea. Panacea, something that solves all problems. All problems. Sometimes people advertise things and they try to claim it will do everything for you. But in actual fact, when we get into proper analysis, that is not the panacea. People are not coming across the panacea. It is a challenge to find a panacea. First of all, let us analyze problems. What are they? In fact, how problems begin, if we are tracing it into history, it's like we go. Problems have always been there. But the truth of the matter is that it leads us to the source of the human. Where did we come from? In fact, the intensity of our problems the intensity of the suffering is directly proportional to the magnitude of our false identity. We begin with false identity, and that's when, unless we can trace back, then the panacea will never be found. When suffering is intense, it means false identity is very big. If false identity reduces, problems reduce. Zero false identity, zero suffering. But then, to be human, you pick an identity. So it means it is a real challenge. Now, the identity we pick, initially when we pick it, it is without content. So take it like a basket that you take upon yourself, you carry. Without content, it is not heavy. So false identity, this spirit picks, initially it is not having content. And at that stage, it is really, really very easy. Then the content number one comes. Content number one is intelligence. Then content number two comes. It's a step down, just like we have electricity, high tension, and it is stepping down. So from your reality, which is spirit, then you pick the ego. Ego is a kind of separation. It's a pull away, and that becomes something like a basket upon you. And now you pick contents, and they are all step down frequencies. So the very first you pick is intelligence. Then from there, mind. That's where mind also begins. It's a step down frequency from intelligence. Then from mind, sometimes you hear the word ether. Ether is more or less like space. That's where space. Space is a concept in the mind. It's a concept. It is when the mind steps down further, then space is experienced. It's a frequency below mind. Then below that comes air, the frequency we call air. Below that one, below the air, then we have fire. When we say fire, it's a bigger word actually, because it involves light, like the sun, the shining frequency. And that also steps down further. and then we get water. The frequencies are stepping down. Then from there it steps down and we get F. Now, F becomes the lowest frequency. Then the intelligence begins to see what to do with it. The drama. All these frequencies, what to do with it, and drama. So all these elements are woven into forms. And the spirit is a witness of it. And as the forms are made, the absorption of spirit in it, because it's a new thing. The only thing that existed was spirit, but this capacity to lower frequency is responsible for all these things. And then as the elements are woven together, then certain forms catch the attention more of the spirit. And the absorption of the spirit in it, when the spirit is absorbed in something, energy goes in that direction. And things are energized. And then we call them living. Because the spirit is taking interest in, wow, these forms. And every absorption, energy goes that direction from the spirit. And these things make life. And spirit continues to be a witness of all this, the drama going on. And weaving things, the lowest frequency in the basket. I told you the false identity, you look at it like a basket. And these are the contents. So the high frequency, that is intelligence. The lowest frequency, that's F. And these things are brought to weave the whole drama. Spirit projects itself into the drama at a certain stage because intelligence wants to feel its creation. The spirit wants to feel its creation. It enters into it. That is, it sends high frequency into it, and that is your soul. Just to experience the low frequencies it has produced. So you are God. You are a great spirit. That is it. Then, when we remain in the zone of low frequencies for so long, absorbed and exploring, then lo and behold, it gets to the point our real identity as spirits is covered up. Especially when we double with the lowest frequency. It is unlike us, and yes, we mixed with it. So we get confused. And the thing is, who am I? in that confusion. What am I? Everything is forgotten. Since when did it start? Where did I come from? And in order to really awaken, then there must be a way to loosen the bond with the grossest of the elements. And the more you release, then it's like you are awakening. You are awakening. And those of you sitting here, it is due to awakening to some point. Then you get a seeking spirit to go further. Because it is like giving you freedom. You've been entangled in the low frequencies for too long. And the attributes of the low frequency, you've been programmed to think they are your attributes. They are not. They are not. The world woven out of these frequencies, the weaving continues. It's not like something made and it stays put. The weaving continues. So it's changing. And you, the unchangeable, you have come into it. You think, oh, you are dazed that I am changing. Something is happening to me, So things are happening to the lower frequencies. They continue changing form. And as you have taken that form, the changes in it, you think you are changing. And there is some resistance in you. You would have loved to be you that doesn't pass through all these things. But those who are deeply immersed in the lower frequencies, they are so confused, and they, even in that confusion, they worsen their situation. This brings us to the story of the fish. At the beach, sometimes, especially in the night, some fish come out because they smell food outside. They see, they jump out. When they jump out, the smell is still ahead and they keep hopping. But it gets to a point they suffocating. And instead of pausing a bit, say, oh, about 10, let me go back to the sea. It keeps suffocating because it keeps smelling the food ahead. And it keeps going and going, and it gets weaker and weaker. And sometimes it may even drop dead because it goes too far from the sea, from the water. So, such a return journey is the signs of self-realization. That means you begin to realize your true, very true identity. It's not what the elements have woven for you. No, that is not you. And the interesting thing is that when you are backing off, you are disentangling, you are loosening the bondage, then the reality of you has its own characteristics, its own attributes, different from the attributes of the low frequency elements. Its attribute is peace. Its attribute is joy. Its attribute is love. It is a presence that goes back to expanded state. So it keeps, as you release it, it expands. As you loosen the bond, it expands. And when it expands unlimitedly, then the ego, the false identity, has dropped. Throws it. And at that point, just on the point of entering into that state, say, I and the Great Spirit are one. Just as some masters of the past, I and the Father are one. It's not that the Great Spirit is a male or a female. These are products of the low frequency weaving, because it weaves polarities. But the statement is because of the level of the people. That's the statement of Father and all those things. Not because that time the tradition of the Judaism, they had these beliefs, systems, God sitting in the sky somewhere, and it's male. It's unfortunate. That isn't it. Because forms are woven out of the low frequencies. High frequency is expanded unlimitedly. And anything which can expand unlimitedly is an attribute of that Great Spirit. Love can expand unlimitedly. So it is an attribute of Great Spirit. Peace can expand unlimitedly. So it's an attribute of Great Spirit. Joy, that's what we call bliss, can expand unlimitedly. So it's an attribute of the Great Spirit. Sometimes we say as below, so above. Let us see. If you take an object like this, maybe you give it one name, microphone, but then it has a lot of attributes. I touch it, the texture, it is solid. The color, it is black. Well, there are other things to say about them, very same thing. So the Great Spirit, anything that can expand unlimitedly is also an adjective for that Great Spirit. The other things which cannot expand unlimitedly are woven out of their low frequencies, and they are temporary because they are subject to change, because change is ongoing. It is all the time change, the low frequencies. And when you go down to the tiniest things like the atoms, you see them always moving. So this zone of low frequencies is impermanent. That is just a place of weaving forms. But your spirit is not passing through changes because it is what it is. So the illusion that you are like a baby, you grow, you become old. It is the low frequency woven for you, and your spirit is exploring things through that form. And it doesn't mean it is you. In a sense, it becomes like you mixed with something else. That is when psychologically, on the mental level, we are so absorbed that we forget our reality. And therefore, new attributes, we think they are our attributes. The body changing with the body dies. But then we say, we die. It's impossible for you to die. Of course, in the long run, you have to separate from the forms. It's just like you have an equipment to do something. So it's two things, you and the equipment. When you are deeply engrossed in the equipment, on the mental side, there will be forgetfulness. Then you forget. A part of the mind hooks to the low frequency strongly. So we call it objective mind. And that is where the problem is. It doesn't leave us space. It doesn't allow us to realize, because it is pushing you more into it all the time. But when you halt to try to realize, it comes in and says, no. We are used to doing this, let us get more absorbed. So sometimes you see the process of trying to let go of the objective mind is what in the long run we call meditation. That means let the objective mind leave you alone. You are spirit. It is like the rope that ties you to the low frequencies, the lower side of the frequencies, and it is the objective mind. So each day, if you get to the point where you can loosen that bond, there can be techniques to do that. And as you loosen the bond, then the attributes of spirit begin to show itself. Some peace, some joy, and some love. So the panacea that is the solution to all problems is self-realization. When you are realizing yourself, you get to a point that the realization brings about so much empowerment within you. Why? It is also part of the things which are attributes of great spirit. A bit of empowerment. If you loosen a bit, there will be a bit of peace. If you loosen a bit, there will be a bit of joy. If you loosen more empowerment, more love, more joy, more peace. That's our nature. In this way, when you are reasoning and you are getting empowered, there's a point you reach and you can turn around and decree changes in the lower frequency. Why? Because you have power. Low frequency, powerless. High tension is very powerful, but it can be reduced to such a point that we can even sometimes touch electricity. Yes. Sometimes they make gadgets that is having electricity passing through, but it's so weak you can't even touch it to yourself. You don't get electrocuted. You see? So, same way. It is important to halt or reduce our involvement with solutions which do not take you out of the low frequencies, the bondage. So it is not realistic, it's not a solution. It is sometimes, let us call it escapism. Let's say the airplane is flying at a zone of objects and it tries to bypass the objects. But it's not out of the zone of objects. And it's a struggle. It tries this way and it discovers another object here and doesn't know what to do next. So always people are seeking solutions which really complicate their lives. But lo and behold, raise your spiritual frequency, disentangle with the low frequencies and the empowerment that is there. You get to a point where you experience your freedom. You are free. Nothing going on in the zone affects you. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And such a realization is priceless. It is a challenge to the world because every step along the world, civilizations have come and gone, and it's like they seek the solutions in a way to bypass the obstacles and not really disentangling or avoid, leaving that zone to itself. See, when you disentangle, it doesn't mean you don't have anything to do, but your mission changes. You are mindless anxiety. You can do all things. No anxiety, no stress, no fear, no anger. And then you do things. And there's so much power that flows. Whatever you focus on comes to you because they are low frequencies and you are super magnetic. The only thing is that at that stage, your desires are almost zero. So that's not even be focusing on anything. It's interesting. Because we desire, because we want, we are looking for our original attributes to come. We want the peace, we want the joy, we want it back. So we think it's external. So let us go for it, let us go for it. And we do all kinds of things to make it happen. But the more we do it, the more we get entangled. The doing can go on when you are backed out and you are empowered. Then you do the very same things, but minus the emotions. And at the time you crossed the emotions. The emotions are connected to the hormones in your body. And in the process, the hormones get balanced. When they are balanced, they don't cause anything in you. And you soar to your true self. So from there, out of compassion, you come into the zone. And then you help your relations, your kids, your parents, your friends, others, because they are also so entangled. They don't know what is what. And such compassion is a natural attribute of the spirit. So as you back off into self-realization, at a point compassion comes as a natural thing. Because of that compassion, you get into the zone again. So it is more or less like the hospital is for patients, but there are those who are there. They are not patients. Doctors, nurses, lab technicians, and so on and so forth. They are not patients. So, in this entangling zone, in a sense, being bonded there, in a sense, it's like we're patients. And disentangling means getting healthier, becoming healthy, because that is original. That is what you were before you entered into that state. And all that attributes of the low frequencies, for example, health challenges. Health challenges. What do they mean? They mean that certain low frequencies are even preventing the spread of high frequency. They are dominating certain areas of your body. The low frequencies, gross energies, they spread there, they keep there, and then your spirit will experience a real big problem. So when you are disentangling, you get to a point, you are empowered at the same time. automatically. Now you can, like I said, you can decree, you can tell the low frequency, like the storm, go down, and it goes, because you are spirit. We can still hear it, especially when you've been growing as a Christian. A great master said to the people most of the things which were the truth when we try to say, because of the traditions of belief systems, the people get confused. What is he telling us? He says, be ye perfect, even as the Spirit is. That may disentangle and resemble yourselves. And they hear these things and they get disturbed, because it's something strange, something new, something unheard of. Then he was telling them, know ye not that ye are gods? What does that mean? It means the grips of the low frequency has confused you, but know ye not that you can back off and become freer and freer. Gods are beings which carry the false identity, but the content is fewer for them. So the content is lighter, intelligence, mind. When these are the contents of the false identity, those beings are so powerful, and the definition that people have for God is those ones. That is God. But in actual fact, they too carry false identity. It's only that the first content is actually a step down from spirit, and therefore it is vibrant. It is very vibrant. Intelligence and mind, they are really very vibrant, because they just step down from spirit. So if these become the content in the false identity, then one is still very close to being the great spirit, or merging back into great spirit. Because of that, they are called gods. And people worship them, not knowing that your very self, you are like that. You can even bypass that and enter into the source. Instead of worshipping that state, of course it's lofty, it's high, it's sort of adorable, because to get that far is something. But the idea of worship, when you are standing where you are and adoring that, not knowing there's a journey for you to also reach. That is why he said, know ye not ye are gods? So you're not to worship gods. Yes. The process of changing from the disentangling, certain processes are there because it has taken long. The spirit has been in that zone and meddled with it for too long, and it's forgotten everything about its identity. So the process will help. Let us take the example of gold. Gold has its attributes in its pure state. 24 carats. It has its attributes. Shining. Now, when the gold gets mixed in with the lower things than itself, if I say lower, what I mean is unlike gold, and then the dust, it mixes with it years upon years, ages upon ages, and it gets so mixed. In the long run, when we look at it, though we say it is gold or it is dust, then we say gold dust. It is gold dust. You see, it's the confusion. And so the low frequency things, they are so low in frequency that their awareness is almost insignificant. They are not having the awareness. That's what we call earth, water, and all those things. But they are basically conscious. It's only that there's very, very low consciousness. It's step down, step down, step down, step down, step down. But your spirit is the highest frequency possible. So you are in that zone. So in actual fact, it is not okay that the low frequency should dominate the high frequency. It is the high frequency that can really control the low frequency. So, the elements which are low frequency, in actual fact, they draw energy from the nest, which is higher than it, like the lower mind, the objective mind, has frequencies, and even the objective mind, when it's absorbed in something which is of low frequency, it picks that thing's frequency up. That is unseen, but it happens. For example, even if you focus on, you have some food, you focus on it. If you are angry and you are focusing on the food you are preparing, there's angry energy that goes into the food. Some energy. If you are happy and you are preparing the food, happy energy goes into the food. So the lower always can have higher bearing on it, higher frequency bears on the lower. And the part of the mind that is bound to the lower frequencies, the elements, even though it is higher in frequency than the elements, that mind, the objective mind, is also lower than the next mind, which is subconscious, that vibrates higher than the objective mind. So it's more expanded than the objective mind. That is why the awareness in the objective mind is so limited, and the awareness in the subconscious is very expanded, because it's getting closer and closer to the Great Spirit that is unlimitedly expanded. So in this way, the practices that are done to refine the gold from gold dust to get it to its original state, the gold separated, that is really very, very, I use the word again, priceless. Because now you get a pure gold. But it went through a process. So, the same way, the bonding we need to come out of. There are processes to go through, and then lo and behold, we get freed. That is why somewhere it is said, if you get the truth, if you get the knowledge, you'll be set free. And that is something practical, something realistic. It is not imaginary. Because spirit is not the frequency of mind, so it's not imaginary. Spirit is very high frequency. Even mind cannot fancy it. It is to be realized. It's not to be thought about. There's difference between realization and knowing with the mind. Mind is a low frequency. So, when you know things, no matter how much you know, it doesn't give you freedom. When you realize the self, then you become free. The difference between such things is that realization brings you to the point where you have crossed all the contents of the ego, intelligence, mind, and the ether, as I explained to you earlier, the air, water, the fire, water, and earth. So you cross all these. But when you're functioning with the mind, it is a bit deceptive. The forms which are subtler, we begin to think that is all available, that is all that exists. The various forms, we may call them angels, we may call them demigods, whatever. But when you disentangle, you are not different from them. They are also at stages of disentangling. So it's not like they are at the end of things. If they are at the end of things, they merge in the Great Spirit. So they all are on the evolution pattern. The devolution is when we are entering into the low frequency. Step by step we are entering. And it takes long. The soul, the spirit, it takes long in that journey. Entering. When something is happening in the wrong direction and it is happening at a slow pace, sometimes you don't realize it is wrong. Until it takes you far. We can see the story of the frog, Mr. Frog. And there is a story of frying the frog alive, or roasting it alive, or cooking it the life. See, there are two containers. One is on fire, very hot. It's already boiling water. If you place the frog inside, it will attempt to jump out because it is very hot. But there is another container, another utensil or something, or it is also placed on the fire, but it is at the lowest point, and the frog is placed in the water. The water is cold, and then the heat is coming slowly, very slowly, and the frog is adjusting to the heat. It's not jumping out. It's adjusting, and it can get so hot, and the frog, that kind of heat, it would have jumped out of, it is still inside. It's amazing. And that is what has happened to the story in this zone. It has taken long, so we adapted to the low frequencies. But the challenges it is giving us in the long run, because that frog, in the long run, the temperature is getting to boiling point. That one becomes unbearable. In the long run, it is unbearable. So it wants to jump out. It is almost too late. So this is what is happening to the human. When we have the word human being, in fact it is just like saying gold dust. The human side is the lower frequencies woven, and we are exploring with it. Then the being is the real you. Being, always a being. So, brothers and sisters, the panacea is nothing else but self-realization. When you realize in yourself, then the contents of the false identity, you'll be taking them out one by one. The heaviest one is the earthy element. So you loosen the bond by a technique. Then next to that is water, and you loosen the bond. Then you have fire, and you loosen the bond. We can take it to be evolution. That is growth. That is, in a sense, that is growth. And we look at the plant growing. It has to reach somewhere. Then there is fulfillment. Yes, the fruits, and the fruits ripen, and the fruits exhibit different attributes, different qualities. The fruits has a different color when it is ripe. The fruit has a different taste when it is ripe. The fruit has a different texture when it is ripe. So when we evolve and we get to that point of self-realization, then it's like we have become ripe, and at that stage there are different attributes. It is interesting to note when you are moving all the way, when the fruit comes and is getting nearer to ripen, still the attributes are unlike the ripe fruit. The texture, it is maybe solid, the taste sour, and so many other things you see among the fruit. But then finally, then it gets ripe, and it is so fulfilling. It is so fulfilling. We can also see many examples. Sometimes we say, as below, so above. That's why I use the plant to give you the example. You can also see how we make fire, because your spirit is radiant. So it's like when it's entangled, that fire is going down. Why? Because the low frequencies keep covering it, and empowerment is covered. The love is covered. The joy, the grace is covered. So you need to clear these things and then unveil, reveal the real. And that is very, very important. When you are making fire, like most of you know, back home, when you go to the farms, you bring the woods together, pieces of wood, and you set your fire. Usually, when the fire is very small, it's coming up, but it's not really well lit. All you see is smoke. It's a small fire showing. So we are spirits. Very small part of us is showing, and we are having all these emotions, and they are the smoke. So when we disentangle from the low frequencies, then the fire is becoming bigger, brighter, its real attributes are showing, and the smoke will be left behind. It's going, it just fizzles out. You see, very bonfire, what we call bonfire, very big fire. The smoke is next to nothing, no smoke. It's just fire. And that is who you are. And the attributes include attraction. The attributes of your spirit. Sometimes we see how the light attracts the moth. The moth, they move towards the light. They are attracted. Your spirit, as such, it is one of the attributes. You're very magnetic. In fact, the low frequencies in that zone we see magnetism. They are all expressions from the spirit, but they are lower. You see, so every thing which has come from spirit has small of the qualities. So the so-called unliving things, elements, they have little consciousness. They are conscious. That is like very insignificant, very small. And they are also magnetic. So everything has some magnetism. If the magnetism is a little bit more, then it's like coming off the scale. You go down here, it's lower and lower and lower, and it's like non-existent. And it is there, it's only that it is very small. So when you are actually becoming yourself, your magnetism is so huge. So some of the problems we encounter is lack of magnetism, especially relationship and other things. There are things which lower the magnetism, and anything that lowers magnetism is something which pushes you more into the lower frequencies or the lowest of frequencies. It takes you more into it. It makes you more confused. But when there is a release, then it is different. And the interesting thing to note is that when you raise your frequency to this level, from here to there, then the magnetism wants to pick things which are also at this level. Like attracts like. See, it is only when it becomes so dim, then there is confusion. It doesn't know what is what anymore. But when there is coming off, then it is quite selective. So at that time, you can have compatibility naturally coming. You see, if you go higher, it picks things that will sort of resonate, things which harmonize. You see. So it makes things easier, actually. It makes things easier, life. So, brothers and sisters, I know I'll have some other lectures to give you. The speech is always unplanned, it just comes. And what you need to hear is what you are hearing. When things don't happen anyhow, there is some level of preparedness. You are somewhere on the journey. And because on the collective, yes, you who are here, this is what you are doing. So, make the best use of it, and you will not be the same. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Doctor. We're going to have a Q&A, question and answers, in the next 5 minutes or so. We'll take a short break. And I'm sure you heard phrases like, do not worship gods because you are gods. Low and high frequency, panacea, false identity, entanglement, disentanglement. What do they mean? Don't go home not knowing what he was talking about. So we're going to have a short 5 minutes break. We come back, throw your questions at him, and I promise you, he's at his best when he's answering questions. And no holds barred. Thank you, and see you in 5 minutes.
My name is Sam Watson. Yeah. Doctor, I think your speech has been dominated by the word high and low frequencies. This is not something tangible that I could move. When I'm at the low frequency, I can shift it or I can switch into high. So how can I, if I'm low frequency, how can I move to the higher frequency?
Something that has to be done. Just like I was saying, we need to refine the gold dust to get the gold. So something has to be done. And that knowledge has not been made available to the masses. Most of the time, there is some kind of resistance. When people are so entangled, they are confused. So such knowledge, you could remember in the scriptures, there was a saying, don't cast your pearls among the swine. See, even if you are a farmer, you would like to put the seed where the soil is fertile. You don't throw the seeds anyhow. So such processes down the ages have been sort of kept out of the hands of the masses because they are so confused, they don't even know what it is. But when they suffer intensely, then it's like they're looking for a way out. And that is the time they begin to yearn for such knowledge. So most of the people who are looking for the truth are people also, if you look at them, they've also passed through a lot. They pass through a lot. And they bump into things and they see that, no. They begin to ask questions. As below, so above, you can see water when it goes deep into the soil. It comes from the ocean and it evaporates into the skies. Then it falls as rain. Then it seeps deep into the soil and it bumps into rocks and it can no more go. So it stays as underground water. And when that increases, it reaches a point, it has to come out as spring water. And then it becomes a river seeking the ocean again. So these cycles are there. So you are here because you are seeking that return. But you can speed it up or slow it down because you have your evolution has gotten you where you have the power of choice. The entangled spirits within certain creatures like animals, sometimes they don't have that power of choice that much. Now, when it comes to the human side, discriminating between what we call the polarities we identify, you see, and we need to then see how we use our power of choice properly. That is for our growth, for our freedom from bondage. So that power of choice is with us as individuals. Sometimes we stagnate, we delay on the path back, and where we are, we find people also on the same because of the law of attraction. So that gives us a lot of a feeling that, oh, I'm not alone in that. I think that is normal. But you need to go beyond it. You use your power of choice. And you identify what will help you to grow. The knowledge is there. Only it is kept for those who are sincere seekers. They are the fertile ones to plant the seed in them. That will separate out the low frequencies from their lives. And then they start to experience the high frequencies. So somehow, that's how it is. And I'm providing the kind of things that will make it possible for the sincere seeker to actually grow, to refine himself, to come to the point of realizing his true identity. So that is there, it's available now. That is how it is.
You would think that he's dodged your question a little bit, but hasn't. And like you said, you don't cast your pearl before swine. And when the ground is fertile, it is easy to get the best out of that ground. And if you look on the original information is available, and there are private lessons. Now that is where we put a ladle to the bottom of the pot and bring out the juicy bits. Now this is a public lecture. Yes. So, and coming from low frequency to high frequency exposes you or actually unveils power within you, the God power within you, which of course you can do good with or do bad with. That is why he is a responsible teacher and makes sure that he unveils or he helps those who are actually willing, are ready, whose hearts are pure. And then he relays such truths to, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So take information down and link yourself up with private students, and anything and everything that you want to get from him, take my word for it, he'll be willing to expose to you. Who has a question?
The private lesson is the only
question.
If you mention your name and ask a question, please, for the purpose of it. Thank you.
Joseph Lai. The first one is the private tuition. Mm-hmm. Is it only available to people in Ghana, or is it also available to people here?
It is available worldwide. Okay. So you get in touch with us, and then we will link you up with it. Now he holds the sessions wherever he could actually even get on online from here and invite the students across the globe on what is it? Zoom. On Zoom to the lessons. But often when he's at home in Ghana, he puts these things across, gives us days and time. We all come together, and then the teachings are unfolded to us.
Sure.
Yeah. So it is available to anybody and everybody. No, regardless of where you are. As long as you register, and then you find out whether you are true seeker or not, and then off we go.
Correct.
Yeah. Second question.
Now, my question now is to him. In the evolution to self-realization,
How can one tell his position now that I am here or I am there? Thank you.
The teacher sees it. So he beckons you forward, and at some point he tells you. But the point is, when you are evolving yourself, you get to a point, all those things are seen by you. Now you know where you have reached on the journey, how much more is ahead, and so on and so forth. But until you get there, it's not always he reviews, but sometimes when it's necessary, as a kind of for some people, they need it to really inspire them forward. But there are some too, if you are to tell them, and they see, oh, then it's too far ahead, and they get discouraged. So, in any case, once you are here, it means you have reached somewhere on the journey. That one I must tell you. See, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Jan, for coming. My question is very similar to everybody else, but really it's about life, really. In life, it's happening. Life is happening, whether we are aware of what's happening or not. And sometimes what's happening to us is good, sometimes it's bad. I, for one, I'm like, I've got a temper. And so even with the meditation and everything that's I'm trying to do, it's almost like a default. I still go back to sometimes, being angry, So how can we affect it? How can we sort of change what is happening in the drama to make it, so that it's better for us or we feel good about ourselves?
There are two things in the polarity which you need to transcend. The very first one is the bondage to the lowest frequency. And the steps you take, the most important thing you should do is to balance your hormones. Hormones are things in the body which are connected with the emotions. And the emotions, when they are set loose, then they becloud your vision. Your spirit cannot anymore see clearly. See, so you have to balance the hormones. So I start you with techniques which balance the hormones. See, so at the lowest part, this is what has to be done. And then you don't go straight to meditation as people do. You won't find it easy. Because if you haven't really silenced the emotions, the lower mind it is actually feeding on the senses. You see, so when you balance the hormones, the senses do not feed the lower mind anymore. And the lower mind goes down, slows down, and then the higher mind takes over. Higher mind will not take over if the lower mind is very active. And it will be active as long as the hormones are also doing their things. You see, so there is always where to begin, and people don't know. So they just start, I'm going to meditate. Then they go to meditate, and it doesn't work very well for them. You see, it makes things tense, but it's not broken. It's just like something you pull, but it's not broken, it's always there. But if you loosen it, now you go, nothing is pulling on you. You see. So the early stages, they are of such value. And when you come to the lessons, don't bypass them, because there are some people, they think, oh, this These are elementary things. These ones, let me bypass them. I like the meditation. Then the meditation aspect, they go straight to it. Doesn't work very well. So generally, it is like you are traveling. You go to the airport. You need to travel with a plane. Now, the guidelines to get into the plane may be provided, but lo and behold, the guidelines are telling you things when you are at the airport. So you need to come all the way to the airport before those guidelines work. See? So one needs to disentangle from these emotions and other things and get along. And then get to a certain point. Then meditation works automatically. You don't even make it like something to do. It is just a flow. It just comes. You enter it without even thinking you want to. You see? So this is how it is. Steps are there to overcome the anger, the fear, the confusion beyond them. They cannot come to you. They cannot be part of your life anymore. Sometimes when you are inside it, you think it is not a possibility. That is how it is. Because it has taken long for your spirit to be in that entanglement. So it doesn't see any way out of it. But there is a way.
Thing that I love about Dr. John is this, that you see, he did not invite you to come, let him pray. Let me pray for you so that your anger will do what? But he's going to nurture you and show you how you can rise within yourself, that the anger itself disappears from you. Like our brother's question, how do I know where I am now, here or there? But when you're part of, any person who is a part of the private students here would tell you. Now, if they are serious and practicing the small, the tiny, the so, if you like, insignificant techniques, they are the ones that shuttle us to the top. But these techniques can only be given to you when you are part of the private student group forum, if you like. Yeah. Anybody got a question? Yes, sir. Your name and he's laughing. I asked his name. He's laughing because he's assuming I should know his name, and his name is Michael, and that's my son.
Thank you for coming on. Actually, to be fair, my dad's spoken of you highly, and I've watched a few of your videos as well, and I've been taken by it, if I'm being honest. And even sitting down here listening to you, I could just kind of feel your aura, everything about you. But I've got a question that I hope is not too personal. Obviously, you being a human being just like everybody else, everyone goes through things, and being a leader in your position to be able to lead others as well. My question to you is, are you at a point where you don't face challenges anymore, or you do face challenges but you just have learned how to be able to manage them, is my question to you.
Yes, if the aeroplane flies beyond the zone of objects, it doesn't mean the objects cease to exist. They are there, but it looks at it and it's like it's not anything because it's soaring beyond it. So it's not like the things going on in the world around me cease from happening. They go on. But in actual fact, not a single of them affect my bliss, my peace, untouched. When you are in the plane and you look down, you see the mountain, but you don't see that you are going to crash. And you see the tree, you see the house. It's only when things go down, then fear comes. You might crash. You see. So the same way, not a little bit of any of those things. No fear, no anger, no stress. And let me tell you one thing. Practically all the ailments, they have a way to reach you only because you are at a stage in which the negative emotions can come up. If you cross that, there's no ailment that can come to you. You have felt everything halts. It slows down all things which are entering. You can't even enter that field. You can't be safe. When you are angry, for example, there is a particular organ in your body that really gets affected. When you are sad, there's another organ that connects that, or it weakens the function of that organ. When you are in anxiety, some other organ. So there is interconnection like that. When none of these can happen, then they are functioning at their best because high frequency is spreading through them. You cannot be sick. See? So it's practical reality. It's a reality. Yeah. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody said, I heard people say, that's a good question, that's a good question, that's a good question. And you wasn't too sure yourself. That's a fantastic question. And I hope it's been answered. If a jumbo jet flies at a different altitude to a helicopter, and then if the things that a helicopter crash into, the jumbo jet will just look down on them and just off it goes. And it's funny. All things are possible. We've heard this 1,001 times, but having come to realize or actually come close to experiencing that indeed all things are possible. Now he tells you it is possible, and I am in the place that I can say that I can smell that all things indeed are possible, my son, and everybody else. Listen, I'm going to stop preaching. You got a question? Yes, sir. Please write your name and your question, please.
My name is Kenneth. Thank you, first of all, Doctor, for your time being here. I've been listening to you many times, and joined the Zoom meeting sometimes, ask people questions. I just want to ask a question about entanglement and higher frequency and all that. We know that those who are in a higher frequency, people go to them for help. People who are not there yet, like demigods and all that. And the excuse most people give is like, God has put them to help us. They are in charge. For instance, we can say somebody is in charge of the sun. So God has put that thing or that spirit for them to help us. So going to them is not a problem, or there's nothing wrong with it. My question is, are they also entangled wherever they are? And are they stuck because of people worshipping them, so it's not allowing them to go higher? Because if you're not careful, we can also end up in the same level. When you are helping people, instead of also moving higher, you will end up saying, okay, I'm helping people. So instead of you reach higher, you end up being stabilized. So that's my question. Are they also entangled? And is there any chance they can also go higher? And is it okay people to go to them Because they want to go to them, I think they, somewhere or the other, they could answer or something, I don't know. So, and after that, I'll ask my another question.
Yes. See, the whole thing, the step down, the very first step down from spirit frequency, I already explained it to you as the false identity, the ego that we take. And it's a kind of separation, which is not true because you are eternally what you are. But with that, the step down continues until we get the lowest frequency. When you are freed from the lower frequencies, then you are heading for, I think somebody asked the question, I said there are two things you have to achieve. And I already explained the down one, that is disentangling from the lower frequencies. But on the highest level, you have emptied the false identity, you have emptied it. So it is not having content, but it exists. So at that stage, one is highly powerful. It's having a form and all that. So it's just like an identity. So at that stage, the only way one can cross that stage is the last string of the false identity. And that last string is pride. The last string is pride. So, for one to finally say, I and the Great Spirit are one, that means he has dropped that last string. That last string can keep one because it is not an attribute of spirit, pure spirit. So it keeps you in the direction of the low frequencies. But you've been going and your direction is high frequency to the Great Spirit. But when you get to that point, the last string, you turn facing the lower frequencies and it can lure you back. See, and that's pride. When you are properly guided, when you are getting up there, then that element, that string, you will be told right from the word go that this will be the last string. So when you get there, be vigilant. You've been able to clear all. But the reason for the pride is the principle of relativity. You see the others below you. And it gives you pride. Wow. You understand? And that is where the last string can keep you down again. So once you cross that one, then you are, universes are within you. Yes. When you cross that one. You see, the objective mind is functioning with the senses. And we have 5 senses. The subconscious is functioning with your whole being and beyond that. But the best the objective mind can do is to function with your whole being. But the best the subconscious can do is to function with the whole universe. Then we have superconscious. When you have pride, you cannot get to superconscious state. Superconscious state, when you get there, then just as subconscious sees this body inside it, when you get to superconscious, the universe is within you. The universe is within you. It's an amazing experience, but the fact is, you have compassion, you enter, but blindness, pride, and that is the highest experience one has to attain. But traditions which begin with certain dogma and so on, then it makes you think holier than thou, all that kind of thing. Then as you go, then that pride thing is surely going to hook that person. You can't get across it. Hope you understand? Yes.
Yes, I do understand. But my second question, that completes my first question. How would one knows that this is my problem, so I need to deal with it? I think you mentioned pride, but I think you have more than one thing that can break us down.
Yeah.
Is there any more you can tell us so that we know? Sometimes in the scripture, a man came to Christ and said, "What can I do to inherit the kingdom of God?" And the master says, "What does the law say?" He said, "Oh, I know this from my childhood." I'm trying to paraphrase it so that give the time. I've done this since I was a child. Christ says, "Go and sell your things and come and follow me." And it was hard for the man to do that. As far as that man was concerned, he thought as long as he has to obey the law, it's okay. So, for instance, if I know I'm not proud, I know I'm not, one of them, how would I know my standards? I have everything, but there's maybe one or two particular things that I think I need to conquer it before I'll be able to climb higher. Or how would I know that this is the thing that is bringing me down? Because if you know, it's easy to deal with it. But if you don't know, I think
things come together, because I've mentioned about the lower frequencies always passing through a kind of weaving. It is always making new forms. See, now the form woven for you, the elements are in different ratios for you, different ratios for the next person. You understand? Yes. That is why it gives different levels of entanglement. And you can see somebody is temperamental, quick to anger, because the elements in such combination are different. Even there are subtler things like the energies in the atmosphere and the time the person is taking breath. You see, they are all bearing on the person. And then the things as the baby is speaking from mom, dad, and so on. Even when the mom, especially from 7 months going, the conversations of the mom, the things that go on, they affect the baby. You see, the negative things, if she goes into a mood, the baby picks the frequency. It is in some kind of passion state, or she's doing certain things. A lot is tricked by the baby in that condition. So when you come out, you are having a whole lot of things, subtle, gross, all woven together to make your equipment, your body, see, your very person. So body is not just the physical. There are subtler things which are also there, and these things are defining the outer side of you, your equipment here in this world. Now, when you want to transcend it, then if you balance the hormones, as I was already said, a whole lot is ready, a whole package of things worried are cleared. You see, so whereas we can enumerate that anger is that they are your problems. Just by balancing the hormones, those things you have crossed. You see, then the next things which are there to be crossed, they are very, very, very subtle things. Very, very subtle things. And some of them we have picked since we were born. See, for example, when you get to a certain level, you live freely, and it is not like you are competing with anybody. You are unfolding your inside. You understand? But when, apart from anger, fear, and all those things, there is this competitiveness, and it makes us have enviousness because I want to surpass the other and all that kind of thing. These are subtle things, you see, and that also, see, from after clearing the hormones, balancing them, the next thing is concentration. When you concentrate the mind, then some of these subtle things where you compete, you say, they all go down. You move, improving yourself, and you are satisfied, but it's not like it is because of somebody you are doing it so that you are better than the person and all that. And all this getting holier than the other and all those kind of things. So the techniques continue. So concentration and contemplation, they are the techniques that handle the subtle states until you get to the meditation state. See? So I hope you understand. Yeah. So that is how it is. We guide you through all these things. For your very self, you also get to know as you go on. Say, let me give you this point. Just as you have two legs, if you pull one leg forward, the right leg, you don't see yourself forward that much until you pull the left also. You see? So it's just like practice and knowledge. So when you practice, then it opens up more knowledge. Then you have more knowledge, you practice. Then you get more knowledge, then you practice. Then you get more knowledge. Then the evolution is taking you, you're crossing many things. But when it is like knowledge, no practice, you are not going anywhere. So, and if you are practicing and you are not guided with some knowledge, that also you might even go in the wrong direction along the line. So these things need a lot of guidance. Sometimes people go to the net. Now they push so many things into the net, and they want to get knowledge, but no practice. And even when they want to practice, there isn't the guidance personal, so that you in particular, this is where you have reached, do this. Most of the time, the one-on-one for those practicing is actually meant to, originally it was meant to reveal where you have reached and what next you have to do. But this moment, most of the, I was doing the one-on-one with the students in Accra, in Takoradi, rather because those who haven't been able to cross the emotions, then I have to dwell on that because I wanted them to cross. Then from there, the one-on-one will be a revealing of certain things. See? So you come to a certain point, the master meets you halfway. See, that's how it is. It's just like you are climbing the stairs to a very high building, maybe 10-story, and you get to the 3rd floor, and he comes in and says, okay, you are tired, enough is enough, come to the lift. Then takes you along. See, but most of the time we don't give the lift from the ground floor. There is a reason for it, because we also train people's motives, because you're going to have access, not what are your motives. So that is why these teachings you are hearing, they also correct motives. You understand me? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Anybody else with a question? Your left hand will do, Yvonne, if you want to raise a question.
No, I hadn't raised my hand.
Anybody else got a question? Feel free. Yes, sir.
Me again. On the journey, on the average, how long will it take one to reach self-realization?
Yes, boss.
Even in very rare cases that it happens, sometimes right from maybe 1st floor, the lift is given. It depends on if the person in his journey of evolution has gotten where he already has the right motives. You see, let's take electricity. When electricity is stepped down, it becomes assessed, but we see that the very same electricity, it can provide polarity. It can give heat, it can give cold. See? So the electricity itself is not cold, it is not hot. So the divine energy, the great spirit energy, is neither a part of, it's not a part of polarity. But when we are in this zone, we are mixed with the functions of this low frequency, and its main attribute is polarity. Everything has its opposite. Happiness, sadness, everything. Day, night, and so on and so forth. So, when you are actually being taken on the journey, then the effect of polarity is reducing, and you are getting to a spirit frequency which is not having polarity in it, and it helps you very quickly to go on. So at the low level, we see how far you have come as an individual. then it may let you have access very quickly. In fact, it is motive issue. That's why we study people. And it's not just studying and saying, oh, this one I won't give, this one. No, we have a system to be bringing them up so that we change motives. Motives should always help evolution. It's just like, evolution is like a river flowing in a direction. And if you are swimming in the same direction, then the river helps you forward. But if you swim counterwise, and that is what people are doing, because the wrong motives, the universe is not moving in that direction. And it brings a whole lot of conflicts and problems. So we help the person to change and move in the direction of that river. And then when it is like that, very easy. See, let's say I come with a boat, and the boat is going where the river is flowing, and then you are moving this way, this direction. Then I have to tell you, no, you know what you are really looking for. The sea. The sea is in the direction of the river. So join the boat. That is where we're going. So it is a way to first bring our teachings to let people change focus and align themselves or get ready to be able to reach somewhere. But we don't speak about it because there's a law, the law of frequencies. It will be pulling you and arranging so that because you have reached that level, this is where you belong. Even the question coming from you is a prompting because of where you have reached. You see? So this is how it works. Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Yvonne. Daddy, how do you maintain your energy or frequency when you are in a job that demands emotionally from you?
Initially, if you have come across techniques like this, then you stand the chances and opportunity so that the hormones balance. When the hormones balance, then things thrown at you, there's no reaction. It doesn't really enter. It's just like when the boat is on water, there shouldn't be water in the boat. When water gets in the boat, it will be sinking. So if the emotions get into you, you are actually going down. And then even your aura is also going down. So if there is a technique that takes the water out, definitely it is very saving, you see. And such work now can be done with so much benefit to those people and benefit to yourself. The other aspect is that when you are able to function beyond the emotions, by that time you are beyond the emotions because you are unveiling your spiritual nature. There's some empowerment in it. There's some empowerment. You are more powerful. It's an attribute of the spirit. It has power. So at that stage, whatever you are doing, powerful energies flow through your palms, through your hands, through the people benefit so much. And there is a law. If you are doing it with sincere feelings, and then when you are helping, they get helped. Help means it pushes them a bit. They come out of entanglement a bit. Because like you remember I told you, disease sickness or diseases, they are just blockages of low frequencies within the system. So when you are helping them, even in small ways, the help you give them is counted for your own elevation. And it's very, very important. And so if you do it sincerely, and you can only do it very sincerely only when you have crossed the emotions, because sometimes the emotions are so the moment you cross the emotions, you can only have good feelings. So in their presence, you are feeling good. They do this, they do that, and you are affecting them gradually. And it is also seen in relationship. If you cross the emotions, then the state you have come in will bear on your partner. See, if he's been, excuse me to use that word, if he's been barking like a dog, he will now become like a cat. Just blink the eyes and keep going. Yes, you will change. Your aura changes things slowly. It changes.
Just to top up my question, what about you are able to manage like first 8 hours, but then after the 8 hour, someone who is like a serial owner now gets to you. So now your patience is run out. You are almost like a, how do you explain that?
Yes. When you stay in the zone of a particular frequency, even though you don't belong there, when you are keeping long there, then it's affecting you over time. And it is a challenge. And it's affecting everyone. When the only thing is you have the opportunity to just, it's just like the fuel, you remove it and the fire goes down. That is the only thing, best solution.
So sorry, I didn't get that.
You didn't get it?
Yeah.
You get affected, it's only because it is possible to unbalance your hormones. But if you balance them and you are stable in that, these things don't affect you. See, there are stories in the scriptures. Sometimes you see somebody like Daniel, and the frequency around him. You bring the lions. And the lions, they have been made hungry. Now they want to go to, you know what they want to do. But the moment they try to move, they are slowed down. Cool frequency of love. And it penetrates. If it is very strong, it penetrates. And they slow down. And they lie cool. It's a frequency of peace. So it doesn't bring any, what formerly could or usually could happen. He was functioning beyond the emotions. And you can see others functioning beyond emotions and they demonstrate. The Master Jesus, he demonstrated it. You see, he is not only words he used to teach. Sometimes he let things happen and lessons are inside it. The state beyond the emotions. That is why all that was going on, they came to catch him, do whatever, and in actual fact, he wasn't angry. And he was functioning beyond the emotions. Even the disciples were not. They were not beyond emotions. That's why Peter took a knife to cut somebody's ear. Because the way he was behaving, and Christ himself, that the thing was happening to, was not angry. And all the sadness around him, he told me, the people crying, the emotions. And he said, cry for yourself. No. It's beyond that kind of thing. You see, so it is a reality that you can realize. It's an opportunity. You see, if you stand where you are, these things will continue. Yes. But when change comes, you see, its essence is that external change is an effect. The cause must be here. So you change the one here, the effect is the external change. But people don't know. So they battle trying to change the external situation, they shut it and it increases. It's always there, but change here. See whether it will be there after it dissolves. Because it's not a frequency that matches, or it doesn't detect similar frequency in you. If it detects similar frequency in you, it keeps coming. You see, sometimes you see the animals wild. I used to say this. The Asians, they used to talk about it. Those who were hunters, they knew it. Sometimes when they are very level-headed, free-minded, and they are cool, they go to the forest. There are wild animals. Sometimes they will see lions perching and watching them. And they see you pass. They don't mind you. Now somebody else, they detect something in the aura. And the Asians used to say it, well, what I came to meet and they were talking about was if the hunter has taken somebody's wife and is feeling guilty within himself, he goes. When he appears from far away there, then the animal is very wild, he wants to catch him. So it is not the person per se. Sometimes even the animal is well fed already. It doesn't. But it will make sure it kills that person. Just with the wild dogs, they do it. Sometimes they are barking out the negative energy inside you. But it's not just you. It's a negative energy. I hope you understand.
Your question. My name is Desmond. My question is, the path to self-actualization, these practices and techniques, they were passed on from other masters and made available to us. So when you say worship in that sense, as in you give reference to them or show appreciation before you practice, these things, does it in any way enhance your spiritual journey?
When a messenger brings you something you've been looking for, there's some kind of appreciation. He came all this far to let me have it. See? And yet, there's not just him, there's a team that he's bringing. What is wrong is just to be obsessed with him and not the message. That one is, it means what he's bringing is not, you haven't really seen the worth of it. And your attention is just on him. You see, and that is one thing I'm always explaining, teaching the people. It's, I've always been telling them, it is not name I'm looking for. It's not money, no. But really, I want the message to be valued and taken. So if that is happening, my mission is done. See, so Of course, traditions are there that people are doing, but usually I don't speak against any things going on. I just speak of what is the truth and what one has to do. And if it is contrary to what others are doing, it's not my point. My point is to give you what is the truth and what you should do. So no matter how, when the messenger brings a thing, initially, once you see the thing, you are very happy. And sometimes you pat his back. Good, you brought me my thing. That is okay. Make use of the thing. The focus should go on the thing. And even the messenger becomes happy that he has given it to you and you value it. So it's like that.
Does the showing of appreciation in any way enhance the journey for you?
If the appreciation helps the message to reach others, then great. So it's not appreciation lifting my personality with what we call personality, because I'm already talking about reduction of ego, you see, and real, true spirituality can be put on the gauge, and the gauge is there's very little ego. So if ego is being enhanced by what people are doing for a teacher, it's not spiritual. It's not growth. So these are some of the things we must be aware. The teacher must be someone aware of it, and is not absorbing that into himself. The praises and all that goes on is beyond it. Always has to be beyond it. And appreciations given in channels, if it is, let's say, for example, money, donation, things, there is only channels so that somebody will get a message. And the message reaching people is my main point. It's not like something accumulating down, this is my property, this is my... No. It has to be beyond that. Or it makes me a master bigger than some master, and all that. That is part of the it means the person hasn't reached far. He hasn't reached far.
Okay. During his teaching, he mentioned high frequency, looking at low frequency, and decrease, and his response. Power against powerlessness. 1-to-1 meetings with Dr. Jan, invulnerable. Now, during that time, he doesn't just lecture you, but he solves problems. High frequency looks at your problem, he decrees, and it is done. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Doors are open, hours are open, are available in Brighton only. And from here to Brighton, it's not like from here to Mecca. Even from here to Mecca, people do go. All right. Your last question, and then we'll bring this to an end.
Doctor, in the course of your speech, you did mention about magnetization. Could you kindly explain how magnetization is related to frequency?
See, anything which can be expanded unlimitedly is an attribute of spirit. So I mentioned love can be expanded unlimitedly, so it's an attribute. Joy when it's fully expanded, it becomes bliss, and it's actually an attribute. Now, there are other things too. Peace can be expanded on limited levels, so it's an attribute of Great Spirit. Now, as Great Spirit is expressive, even it's not expressive, there wouldn't have been these low frequencies. So, in that expressive state, it's like it's radiant, it radiates, and that radiation, when it also slows down a bit, because it's radiating out into the low frequencies. So when it slows down a bit, it becomes vibration. So things are vibrating in all the atoms and everything. But when you get very close to spirit frequency, it is radiant. So radiation is actually a higher thing. And then the zone of vibrancy. And with that also, you see, it's like a spectrum. You see, a spectrum is like the way we have the rainbow, the colors, they are spectrum. So when you come to vibrations, we have higher vibration, then it's descending, it's stepping down. And in that process, the principle of magnetism is experienced along the line. See? So when spirit enters into the zone in the form of soul or spirit, then it's also radiant. And that radiation also takes the same pattern of also slowing down. The magnetism also comes at a point. So always the soul is also having magnetism as part of the things emanating from the spirit. And this kind of magnetism seeks things of similar frequency to come together. And in fact, all the interactions, relationships, they are not accidental. It is frequency correlation. It's just a linking due to frequencies. It's rearranging itself due to frequencies. That's why even we are here, because some coming from far away is just a pull because of frequency, and then we are seated. See, I hope you understand. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor, and thank you very much for coming.